Welcome to Quack&Co, the board game channel where every video is 10 minutes or less guaranteed, and today we're taking a look at CMON's new title, Cyberpunk 2077.
I'm so excited about this.
Gangs of Night City, the board game. Now, Devin, you actually have a first impressions over on Devin Talks Tabletop, where if you cross 10,000 subscribers,
I get a hamster.
We're buying him a hamster. I don't know why that's important.
A real one.
It's definitely part of the conversation that you should be aware of.
And you on your channel have what?
We have the first ever gameplay going live today. Now it won't be with this physical prototype.
Yeah.
This is for us to check out. This is not, but we are playing with the designers over on TTS, and you sat down to play with us.
I had a blast, and you didn't get to play, but you kind of had like
watched it,
omniscient narrator.
So here's the different gangs that we get to play with. Now this is probably one of the more advanced games coming from CMON in a long time.
It's got
so much sequencing. For me, it's got a ton of story, but you're actually going to be operating as various gangs from around the city. It's not a skin of the video game.
No.
This is in the world of Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
But it's not trying to replicate exactly what the video game did. So we have the Valentinos, the Maelstrom, the Voodoo Boys, and the Tiger Claws.
Yeah, and so what this place is that in typical Cyberpunk 2077, you are a singular protagonist who is working through the city. But in this board game, you are actually one of these operating clans who have control over the different regions. And as these clans, you are competing for both area control and also like knowledge. It's a very fancy silica packet, isn't it?
That is a very fancy silica packet.
Very fancy.
We've not opened this prototype before,
we haven't looked at this at all yet.
So, like,
now, we've played with the online prototype or on the online module, but we haven't looked at this at all. This is a virginal opening.
Yeah, this is a cool packing job by them, though.
They did a lot of effort to make sure that these minis were in good shape. I feel like this is toilet paper. I'm almost certain it's toilet paper.
Yeah, do you not ever do that?
Do I use toilet paper to wipe minis?
Tissues, Kleenex, anything like that?
No, I don't think I do.
It's a soft padded paper. I don't have to tell you, bro.
I don't think I do.
Minis look epic.
Yeah, they look pretty darn good.
I mean, it's a CMON game.
I opened those.
What are you gonna do, right?
Ugh, man, looking so good right now. And so the interesting thing about this is that this is a gang-focused area control game in which your different gangs
This board is bigger than I expected.
It is way bigger than you would think based off of what we played on TTS. So you've got your different locations. And you start off, like, for example, I think these are the Maelstrom here. They might start off in Watson. And each of now, they're not going to have all of these units out on the board at one time, but each of these units have different shaped hex bases or, pentagonal bases. And what these are the types of units that can activate certain locations. And in addition to that, some of these are the units that will go and initiate fights the most frequently. You've got edge runners, and you've got oh my gosh. What are all of the ones? You've got techies, and you've got net runners, and then you've got the fighters, which I think are edge runners or solo runners. Mm-hmm. And all of them effectively interact with different spots. You need techies to be able to get edge runners or get opportunities, which are kind of like jobs or contracts you're creating. You need net runners to activate your passageway through the net, which gets you different resources or abilities or values based off of how far you go into it. And then you have the other ones that initiate combat the most. And so you've got all of these different factions, and they start off in different locations. And you've got a victory point hunting game in which the area control, the contract fulfillment, the net running, all of that plays into how you can get points. And each particular clan or gang of Night City is asymmetric in the style that they approach the game at. I mean, you got Johnny Silverhand here, which, if you are familiar at all, is a breathtaking man. He's very, very good looking.
So many cool weapon cards and different abilities that you have in your hand.
And this is the kind of game in which I think you saw the most of it as kind of the omniscient viewer. Yeah. And you got to see what everybody was doing when we were playing.
So but
they all feel broken.
As you start upgrading these gear cards, one of my favorite things about games like this is it's just sort of like Blood Rage in the sense that you get something and you feel like you've just won the lottery. But everyone's doing that the whole time.
Yeah. all of the cards feel so strong, so powerful. It feels very rewarding. And I think that some games suffer from the fact that they might have a lot of card agency or they might have a lot of options available to players, but not all of them feel great. Some of them feel definitely less effective than others.
Yeah.
And it really is like when you get an upgrade in this game, you're sitting there to yourself thinking, oh my goodness, how am I so lucky that I'm the one that has this ability? Because no one else could even conceive of how effective or how damaging, how brutal this is. But everyone's got that.
I'm not going to mix these up.
Are these the story things?
There is a different module to the game, one that we were not able to show on the actual campaign. This is the story module. So one of the cool things about this is as you start playing through, these story cards are going to have city-impacting events that happen, and you all choose how to resolve them and how to progress forward. So the city is alive and well. Now, you don't have to play with a story module, but for someone like myself that lives and dies by storytelling, this is a really, really interesting way to approach how you do emergent storytelling in a game that is so clean and so Euro-based.
And what's fascinating about this is that this is like an area control game with a little bit of combat deck building, and then also some other modules that you're interacting with. But the story side of it that Jesse's talking about, it gives you this narrative arc and these environmental factors that you have to consider when you're playing. It's not just going to be a base area control game every time. There's going to be different objectives, different ways that you have to engage with the mechanics, and those are essential when you have these story cards introduced. They will literally narrow the focus of the game into a particular quadrant to where when you're playing in a particular story, you're interacting with what this game is in a different way than the last time.
And there's a ton of different modules to play through. So depending on what story you want, the length of your game, how advanced you want to be playing, or whether or not you want to include them or not including, you can control for that in the gameplay experience, which I think is so cool.
And I mean, there are very few times when I'm taught a game, and I'm taught the tutorial of a game, and I'm that eager to immediately jump back in. Like, the tutorial is good enough in that it made me annoyed. I was frustrated that I didn't get the full experience, and it made me like, okay, like, I mean, I had to leave. Like, when we filmed it, I had to literally leave 2 hours later to go, I had to go to the airport. And I was annoyed that I was like, okay, let's run it back. Let's run it back and play again. The tutorial is over. Let's go into the main game mode. I'm excited for them to see the gameplay. And I mean, you were politicking as hard as you could to be like, tell me something about the story. Tell me something about the story. I mean this deck is what you were asking for.
I was both doing that, and I was also like, tell me you're going to get us a prototype. Let us know if we're going to get a prototype. By the way, we want to do more gameplays of this. I like your game.
Yeah. No, I'm super excited about it.
Simon continues to put out some of the best stuff in our industry.
Yeah. And for me, Zombicide is a game that I've never really been compelled by.
Yeah.
It's always been something... I played the second edition when it came in, and Alex taught it to me, and I thought it was a little too mundane or trivial for me in terms of the mechanics.
It's the same for me when it comes to, like, Rising Sun, right?
But then I played... So I haven't played any of that trilogy, which I can't criticize that. But I played Marvel Zombies, and I was like, you know what? I was like, you guys are starting to create a little bit of innovation in this area that's making me really
a little bit more
take a step back and be like...
A ton of fun.
Maybe I want to try this out. I had a really good time. And then I had a really good time with Marvel Zombies when I played that with Alex and Shira and you and stuff like that. But then now, when this is the most fun I've had, and I had a lot of fun, and it was on TTS. And so I'm really impressed with what they have started to put together. I think they're starting to get into a really good rhythm. And this is an IP that I care a lot about.
Your first impressions are over on Devin Talks Tabletop. And gameplay is coming out in about 6 hours. I know Simon's doing a live stream in about 4 hours. So stay tuned. Cyberpunk is on the way.
It's coming out, and I'm excited.